Hayley is the founder of a new online store called Red Bear Equestrian. And I thought it'd be really great to have Hayley on today because she's got a couple of strings to her bow. But she also is just one of the kind of entrepreneurs that I love to find out more about and pick the brains of, because she's done a lot of different things. She's very resilient. She's able to quick change stuff when she needs to. She can see the opportunities. She's a real kind of solution focused person. So welcome, Hayley.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you. And we're just going to have a chat today about kind of you and what you've been up to and your story, and you know, like how Red Bear Equestrian's evolved, what your children's confidence stuff's all about, and you're also a very busy mumpreneur, if you use that term. Oh, I think you've frozen. Oh no. Oh, I think I have lost you, Hayley. Oh, we've lost Hayley for a moment. That's not ideal, is it? Oh, you're back. That's the first time that's happened of all. I think I've done 23 Q&As now. The first time I've been talking to someone that haven't responded. Anyway, so I don't know what you heard there.
You were quiet for quite a long time.
That's unusual. Okay, no, I was just saying that we're going to have a chat today about your story and the things that you've done, and find out a little bit about you, because you're if you coin the phrase, a mumpreneur, busy mum of three, and an entrepreneur. So welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Hayley, and what came to bring you to be where you're sat today, really.
Right. So I have, like you said, a few different businesses, and had always wanted a horsey business. I've got 3 horses, and I felt it would be a really good reason to help me get a few more. You know, why don't it be a really good excuse? I need one to be in photographs. So I have got a couple of horsey businesses, but my latest one is Red Bear. So about 6 months before all of the lockdown stuff started, I was looking at buying another equestrian business, and it had stuff in it, had products that I loved. And so we made her an offer on the business, and although it wasn't officially for sale, she came back and agreed, and that was amazing. And we were really, really excited until just before lockdown, when she said, "I'm really sorry, I don't want to sell anymore." By which point I sort of got my heart set on the fact I was going to have this new equestrian business, and it was going to be amazing. And one of my other businesses was set to launch a new service, but it involved children riding. And so as lockdown happened, and my daughter wasn't riding, and I just didn't feel it sat right with me to be encouraging other kids to be around their ponies. I felt that was more of a parent's perspective. So that was put on hold. And because I'd already got it in my head that it would be a really good idea to have this new equestrian business that had loads of beautiful homeware that I'd already found, I sort of had a couple of glasses of wine and decided to email a few suppliers. And by the morning, I'd already tied myself into it, so it was going to happen. And so it's been amazing. We're going to have homeware, jewellery and fashion, and lots of it is exclusive to us. It's been a long, hard journey because a lot of the manufacturers we're working with are running on really skeletal staff. But yeah, it's been amazing, and I'm really excited, and I'm finally getting the equestrian business that I have been wanting to do.
So tell us a bit more then about what the equestrian business that you've always wanted is. What was it that drove that? What's that really about for you?
I love working with retail products, and my other businesses are all service-based. And I had a retail product business. I've owned a business selling children's toys, and we manufactured and sold those. And I sold that in November last year, and categorically said, "That's it, I'm never doing another product business again." Much to my husband's relief, he was like, "That's great, you'll go back to being like a normal human." And then I've obviously been drawn back into it. I've got so many horsey things. I know you can only see my kids behind me, but if I was in my living room, I've got a whole wall of my living room dedicated to horse pictures. And every other thing in my house was to do with horses. And so it just made sense to me that I wanted to be able to buy lots of things that I loved and share them with other people. And I years ago had a jewellery business, which I sold about 7 years ago now. And so it's lovely that I can bring back all those skills from when I had my jewellery business into this new business. And the reason the jewellery business came about was because I was told I wasn't allowed to buy any more jewellery. So I decided if I bought wholesale and made it myself, there could be no complaints. And it's a bit like why this one's come about, because actually, if I can sell my house with gorgeous horsey things and have all this beautiful clothing that I love and the jewellery that I love, but it's actually just coming out of my office and upstairs into the house, my hubby can't really complain.
Oh, heaven forbid you ever start a horse business with actual horses then. If this is how these businesses evolve, you just end up with loads of things that you love. So, why not have a yard full?
Well, I'm looking at moving next year into a bigger house with the horses at home, so at the minute they're 5 minutes down the road. And all the houses we've looked at so far have 4 stables, and we've only got 3 at the moment. So my daughter keeps going, well, that means we need another one because that stable would feel left out. So she's clearly going the same way I am.
That's brilliant. So tell us then a little bit about, what it is that you love about business, and particularly, retail business and things. What is it about that drives you? I mean, obviously filling your house with lovely stuff, I get that completely. I mean, who wouldn't? But what is it about selling goods to people that fills you with joy?
Just love the feedback. So I love the fact that all the businesses I have, getting up in the morning, I love doing them. There was nothing worse than when you did a 9 to 5 and you just don't want to get out of bed. And you just dread Mondays, whereas now I love it. Even in lockdown, I'm getting up like 2 hours before the kids so I can work, because I don't get anything done during the day. They've all been like blackmails to oblivion for me to get on and do this in peace. So it's amazing. I love the fact that I love getting up and doing stuff, and the feedback and the photos. I quite often will get customers sending me pictures, and when I had the children's toy business over Christmas, we got some gorgeous photos of kids opening their presents and just the joy on their faces, because everybody loves, even if it's something you've ordered yourself, if you get it in nice packaging and unwrap it, it's just a nice treat. And I love the fact that I get to give people that opportunity. I think now everyone's so miserable because we're all stuck inside. You used to go out with friends and stuff for a treat, and now that's like takeaway is the biggest treat we can get. And so I keep ordering bits online just so I have like this little bit of joy popping through the door. And I think,
do you know what, recently, because things have taken a bit longer to get here, I've ordered things online and then I've forgotten I've ordered them, and then it's like, oh, what's this package? I've forgotten I even had that. It's lovely.
I'm feeling exactly the same.
So sorry, I interrupted you there. So yes, so you were saying that's what you love, and
yeah, it's just nice to be able to bring a bit of joy and let somebody else have that treat, because quite often, that's the only thing that we really do for ourselves is those little purchases, or we do for our horses and things. And it's nice just to get those bits through post that are all packaged up nicely and feel like a bit of luxury.
So what makes Red Bear? What makes Red Bear different then? Because there's lots of sort of home style and things like that, aren't there? What makes you different?
So everything I sell has all been tested to death by me and my kids. So if I don't love it and I wouldn't use it, it doesn't get sold. All the designs have been done for us. So a lot of the clothing that we're going to be doing has slogans on it, and they've all been done for us by an amazing manufacturer that's doing them. We have some other clothing items that we are already looking to launch at the end of summer, which again have some exclusive designs. All the jewellery is handmade for us. The homeware are all exclusive designs. We've got a couple of pieces that are sold in a couple of the boutiques, but most of it's exclusive. As soon as manufacturing properly opens up again, hopefully June, maybe, we have had some fabric designs that have been hand-drawn by my husband, that again will be exclusive to us. So although there'll be a few pieces that you'll be able to get in other smaller boutiques, majority, 99% of the stuff is exclusive to us. And it's all stuff that, as a mum, I would use, because I think sometimes you buy stuff for the house and you're so scared the kids are going to knock it over. And I've got 2 boys and a girl, and they're all a bit rough and tumble because they love being outside and they've been around the horses, and they bring that in the house. So it's all stuff that you could have in a family home. The clothing's all stuff that you could go to the gym in, you could do the school run, you could go and do the horses in. You're not going to feel like you've got to keep it for best. Because I've bought some of that stuff thinking it looks gorgeous online, the models look amazing, and then you get it and it's so pristine and gorgeous, and you never wear it, and it's all sat in the back of my cupboards because my horses are disgustingly filthy within like 30 seconds of being cleaned. So I don't wear it around them unless I'm going to a show. I won't wear it around the kids because one of them will touch me. And by the time I've been on the school run, I usually go out with the dog or the horses. So it's a vicious cycle. I've got these gorgeous things that I won't wear. So I wanted to make sure that everything was actually useful by mums with kids. And if you've got, we've got 3 dogs, it's all got to stand up to family life.
I love that, because if anyone's ever seen my lives, they'll see that I've got a 10-month-old. He's nearly 11 months now, actually. He keeps growing. Sproodle, mad spaniel poodle. Absolutely love him. But yeah, I kind of get this whole you can't keep things clean renarchy now. And I love a pair of white jeans, but I don't think I haven't been able to put one on for, well, clearly 11 months at least, probably, unless I'm going somewhere where he's not coming with me.
Yeah.
And I kind of maybe I'm starting to understand the mum thing now. I don't have kids myself, but I think having a small child like that around, really, a bouncy one that jumps up on you as well. No matter what we do, he still likes to have a little launch. You want to be able to wear things and have stuff that you're not precious about, are you? Because it's about lifestyle, isn't it? It's about living with things.
Yeah, and again, all the clothing, like I said, can be worn to school run, gyms, riding. I quite often will buy like jumpers thinking they look lovely to ride in, and the minute I sit on a horse, they ride halfway up my back and they're really uncomfortable. I had a really bad accident, so now I'm quite obsessed with I'll always wear a body protector. And I can't stand them right up under my body protector, and it's so uncomfortable. So they're all slightly longer so you can ride in them. It's the little practical things like that actually, unless you've got horses and you ride, you wouldn't think about. My hubby quite often buys me clothes and goes, they're great for riding, and I'll look at it and go, not, because I can't get like a coat on or a body protector or all these little things that you don't think of, or they're going to annoy me when the gloves fit, and all those things we've already thought about.
So tell me a little bit more then about what it's like to be a mum with busy businesses and things, because I'm fascinated by this at the moment, because you never know. Let's see, might have to do it one day. So I'm always fascinated by, amazing ladies like you that actually manage to 3 kids and a business and horses and all this stuff. I can just about manage day to day taking the dog for a walk, quite frankly. How do you do it?
Called organised chaos. And it is quite often, I will get clients message me and go, it all looks so calm and you've got it all under control. And I'm like, I really don't. There are some days where it's all under control and some days where it's really not. So at the moment it's fairly routine, but I think because we've been forced into that lockdown situation, so I'm working for a couple of hours in the morning, homeschooling 3 kids all morning, and then afternoon tends to be sort of more horses, dogs, a bit more chilled out, and then I work for an hour on an evening. But usually, because my 3 are at school, I'm quite lucky. So when I first started out, I was adamant I was going to work all day that the kids were at school. And then I fell into this trap of thinking I could go riding when they're at school in peace. I could go out for a walk with the dogs. I could meet a friend for a coffee and be a proper person again. And so I tend to do about 3 or 4 hours while I'm at school, and then spend a couple of hours either at the yard or nipping out and seeing a friend, just to get that balance. Otherwise you get pulled into that trap of it just being kids' businesses and nothing else. And you don't do anything for you. And I think that's the most important thing. If you don't do anything for you, you end up feeling very lost amongst the whole thing.
And is that a little bit then as well about why you like to have nice things and do, things for you and wear nice stuff that you can feel good in as well? So it's just a little bit of something for you, a little treat to add to that kind of look after everyone else all the time.
Yeah, otherwise you lose yourself a little bit, especially sort of when you have children, you just become somebody's mum. It's a bit like when you get married or so-and-so's wife. You sort of lose a little bit of yourself each time. I can't remember the last time somebody referred to me by my actual name. Usually it's followed by Aunt so-and-so's mum, or and the one with that pony that trashes everything. And it's never just me as a person. So it's quite nice to just do things for you and have little bits for you that are just a little bit special. I know that sort of every 6 weeks I go out with friends. And we go out early on, have a couple of drinks, bite to eat, and we're all home fairly early because we've all got kids. But it's nice just to have that interaction with somebody else. And it's the same, we all spend so much money on our animals and our kids. It's nice just to sort of spend a little bit on us for a change, because we forget about ourselves so easily.
So what would your advice be then about, because it sounds like you've got quite a nice kind of balance, and I never think there's always balance. I think sometimes it tips the other way and you've got to catch it and bring it back, and tip the other way and you've got to catch it, bring it back. So you're always doing this, aren't you? There's no such thing as a real balance. There's always just like that. You've always got to catch it. What would you say though that your tips would be to any people out there who want to launch a business or have got a business and have got kids and busy lives and horses and all these things, which I know loads of our listeners and the people watching are? What would be your tips for them, do you think, about how you do keep a balance?
You've got to really want it, and you've got to really, really want it, because if not, when it gets really tough, it's too easy when you're doing it for yourself to just throw in the towel sometimes and say, oh, it didn't work, or this has been a really bad month, so actually maybe it's just not meant to be. You've got to really want it and really believe in it. You've got to have your kids on board. So my kids all know what I do. They all know why I do it. And they're on board with everything. So even the businesses that I have that aren't sort of child friendly, they're still on board with it. They understand what I do. They describe it in some very obscure ways at school sometimes when they're asked, but they do all know what I do. And so I think that's really important, because if you've got them on board, even from a young age, you can explain a little bit more. Like even when mine were toddlers, I could explain a little bit that, mummy just had to talk on the phone for 5 minutes. They get a little bit of it. So having them on board, making sure you've got the balance, so you're doing stuff for you. So I always make sure I take time out, even if it's just to like go for a bath with the door locked so no one walks in. The little things. Just doing something for you. And I make sure as well that I get up every morning, like I said, before the kids, to get some work done. But I do things like just having a coffee in peace when it's still hot. I meditate and do little things like that, and visualization and stuff like that. That's so important for me, that I know when I don't do it, I know that I get ratty, and it's making sure you still do those little things. So I know for a lot of people it's exercise. That's not my thing. My horses are my exercise, that's it. But I've got a lot of friends who would rather sort of skip their morning coffee to make sure that they've got like 15 minutes exercising. So making sure that you just get that time every day to do something for you, because you're a better parent and you're much better in business if you've got that balance and you feel better.
Cool, thanks for that. Yeah, it's always about that, isn't it? It's the sum of the little things that makes the difference. It's not the big stuff, it's the little things that you do daily, really, that make the big difference. And so moving on then to something a little bit different is, I know your background is in confidence, and particularly confidence with kids. So tell us a little bit then about how that's evolved, and how, because I don't like confidence with kids. I don't really get kids, to be honest. Maybe one day I will, we'll see. And I think, I work much better with adults and doing, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a big kid, but tell me about how you do this to kids then, because presumably it's not just on the horse, is it? Or is it?
No, the majority is starting from the ground. So my background, up until I sort of decided to just work for myself, was always within early years. So child development, early years teaching. I was part of the social care team for a lot of time. I worked with kids in various different guises for about 17 years. And up until this year, I had another business where I still work with children within schools and nurseries, offering consultancy. And then 7.5 years ago now, I had a really bad horse riding accident. It was not my horse, I want to caveat this with. The horse had a really bad undisclosed back problem. And so I got on it, and it turned into the buckaroo, like nothing on earth that you've ever seen. It was about like 18.5 hands high, so it wasn't even a small horse. So I eventually came off thinking, I've been practicing falling for like 30 years. I'm going to do this properly. I know I'm going to break my leg. I'll be all right. I thought the questions do, it's fine. I know how to fall. I'll be all right. I didn't. If you imagine a polo and hit it with a hammer, that is what I did to my pelvis. I damaged my legs and my back. I had a really bleak outlook. But sort of fast forward a couple of years down the line, and I was totally recovered, thankfully, thanks to an amazing surgeon. But during my recovery, he contacted me and said, look, I want to set up a charity for trauma victims, and I want you to be involved. You've overcome, like we told you, potentially you'd never walk again. You've overcome a lot. We'd like you to be involved. And that's really where it started, because a lot of my mindset work I'd already been doing, because he'd already said to me during my recovery, you need to work on your mindset. That's going to be the difference between you walking okay and you getting back on your horse and living a normal life. So I'd already been doing that. And then he said, we need you to come and do like a couple of talks on confidence. And I was like, yeah, all right, go on then, I'll do that. And then a couple of years I've been doing that. And then I was driving down the road one day where my accident had happened. And I had this horrendous flashback. And I was like, I can't drive any further. And from then I spent about 8 months totally having flashbacks, horrible visions, for absolutely no reason. So I decided I was going a little bit mad. And eventually somebody thought, but actually it's just normal, but no one really talks about it, and it happens across the board. And the more I looked into it, and the more I learned about it, and I started doing some natural horsemanship stuff. And then I got a phone call once I'd started to come to the end of it again of the charity, who said, look, we've got this group of people who've had horse riding accidents who need some help. Would you come in and sort of give them a bit of coaching and support them with just being able to be near their horses, so they don't have to get back on them. So I was like, yeah, I can pull something. I'll pull some stuff together. I've got a couple of contacts and we'll work together and put a program together. So it's exactly what we did. And I really enjoyed it. And so I did more and more qualifications around it and more stuff. And then I was approached to do some stuff with kids. I thought, actually, do you know what? That's such an untapped resource, because my eldest, who's on that side of me, who now isn't that tiny, he's now 18, was fine around horses up until the day I had my accident, and had a complete meltdown, and he never got back on a horse up until about 2 years ago. And it was only because of the work we'd done with him. And so it's just evolved naturally because of stuff I've done with my own kids and stuff I've done with other people. And the more I've done bits with other children, the more I've found other people coming and going, well, actually, there's nothing there for kids. Everyone focuses on adult trauma, but actually we just expect our kids to fall off ponies and we chuck them back on and it's fine. And I thought, yeah, I've been guilty of that in the past as well before my accident. No, you're fine, get back on, you bounce, it's okay. And I think it's just that little forgotten pocket that we don't really think about, because we think about ourselves as adults, we fall off. We don't want to get injured, because if we get hurt, we can't work, we can't pay the bills. Kids bounce. So we just pick them up and put them back on again. But you don't actually think that even if they're not injured, the mental impact that that's having. And some of the kids I've worked with, it's not even been their fault, it's been their parents' fault, like I said to my son, that's impacted on them, that actually they're absolutely fine on face value, you wouldn't think anything of it, but they've had a close family member, friend who've had a fall, and that sort of set off that path of anxiety. But they don't want to say, actually, I'm really scared, I'm just going to fall and hurt myself. So they do all these like ridiculous things to get out of riding. And it's just evolved naturally, but I love working with kids. And it sort of brings me back to stuff that I've done for years. So it's really nice.
Isn't that so lovely though, when, I mean, things happen to us in life, and I know that you've got this kind of attitude of you learn from it, and you know it will have happened for a reason and you grow from it and things like that as well, but things happen to us in life sometimes that are there to push us where we should go, as long as we're open to that idea. And you know, there you are, your background in kids and all these things, and then something happens to you, and that puts you in the right place at the right time, although it probably didn't feel like it at that time. And look at what a journey it's been. And I just love hearing people's journeys for that exact reason. It's like you're getting a nudge from somewhere of like, come on, actually, you need to be over here right now. And as long as you listen to that, then the opportunities that open up are just unbelievable, aren't they?
Yeah,
and,
absolutely amazing.
And I love the fact that actually you were saying there that, you know, kids can face trauma and have trauma and things because of something that's happened to a parent or a close friend or something like that. But that's the same with adults as well. Is, you know, like some of my clients are the way they are because actually, you know, something awful happened to their best mate on a hack or something, you know, and so when we talk about trauma, it's a funny old thing, isn't it? We tend to think trauma is PTSD or something horrendous like sexual trauma or something awful or something like that, and actually it's not. It is just a case of you've been through something that was in your mind. You can't cope with it, you can't get away from it, you can't control it, you couldn't deal with it in that situation, and it puts you in freeze mode. And you know, that doesn't have to have been to you.
No.
And I think a lot of what's going on at the moment with COVID and things like that is actually it's triggering people's traumas because we are being controlled in that respect, you know. So go on.
I was just saying, my daughter, I said it earlier on that we stopped her riding quite early on, and not that her pony has ever done anything naughty, but I just decided that from a parental point of view, if she fell off and twisted a wrist or something like that, I'd just rather not take her for an x-ray. And we couldn't go and visit them for 3 weeks anyway, because the people we rent our yard from are elderly, they live on site, and they just wanted those 3 weeks. So we were in proper lockdown without anyone on. And actually, we went up to go and ride about 4 days ago, and she had a meltdown. And I was like, what's going on? I've lunged the pony, you've seen that she's so good, we're fine. And she was like, I just can't do it. I'm so scared that if I fall off, I'm going to go to hospital and get coronavirus. But you've fallen off once. Over the pony's neck, it was your own fault. You decided to like hoik yourself forward and canter. I was like, it's fine, we're only going to walk and trot. You can stay on a lead rope, you can walk, and she just wouldn't get on. And it's taken us sort of the last 3 days of going up and seeing her being exercised, and she's finally coming round. She went, oh, I might sit on her next week and do around the world. Okay, so we're going to do really little steps. But it's that perceived trauma that actually, you know, I will quite happily get on mine, and he's an absolute nutcase now in a controlled environment. But because of everything she's been fed through the media, she's terrified to get on.
And I think that's really key, actually. One of the things I'm currently putting together, and I'm going to ask for your input for it, I'm just telling you that live now in front of everyone, is a challenge. It'll probably be a 30-day challenge about how to get back into riding. So, you know, I want input from loads of different people about their thoughts about easing back into it for that reason, because it's not a case of just getting back on and going for it. For a lot of people, you know, we've either not been able to see them at all, or we've been very limited on what we could do. You know, it is not just a case of hop back on and you'll go from where you left off. It's been 2 months for some people before they've even been able to ride. And we've got to look at the horse's perspective as well. But, you know, so the great thing about kids, isn't it, is that they don't, although they will cover things up, like you say, and you know, come up with all sorts of funny strategies, it's not because they're consciously doing that. It's just the way that they're doing things. But with adults, we will consciously come up with, I was going to say something naughty then, so terrible excuses, things that we know aren't actually, you know, true, but we say them anyway, things that we think people think we ought to be saying, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas at least with kids, they're real most of the time, aren't they?
Yeah, most of, you know, what comes out their mouth is completely honest, even if it's not what you want to hear most of the time. But usually, and even if it takes a little while, they're quite quick to open up and be honest about stuff, whereas adults will sort of put out what they think they should put out and what they can to cover it up in a lot more, not almost manipulative way to try and get out of what they don't want to do. So this is why I like working with kids, because you can get quite straight to the point answers quite quickly.
That must be really refreshing, actually. Must be a lot quicker.
It is a lot quicker.
So if you were to work with some kids, tell us then about how you would sort of do it and what you would kind of do then. Because you said a lot of it's sort of on the ground and things, is it?
Yeah. So a lot of the work that I do with children, a lot of the time they have the trust in the pony, and their ponies that haven't particularly done anything wrong a lot of the time. A lot of the time it's either been falls that have been just one of those things, or it's been something that's been impacted from outside onto them, so it's a trauma that's not involved them. So quite often we start with a lot of little chats and games, and we do like colourings for littler ones, and we'll talk through, we do like what's called stories, so we work through and build stories together about things that have happened and what might happen, and look at what you can do to change the endings. We do a lot of mindset work, so again, exactly the same as what I would do with adults, where we look at sort of visioning and things like that. And they'll record their own, and we'll talk through different strategies. I will sometimes go down and work with them with the pony there as well, but quite often if they're at a distance, I have a lot of clients that are down south and I'm in North Yorkshire, so we'll do stuff, and I'll give the parents exercises to do with them if they're confident, or I'll chat with them, liaise with their instructor if it's not the parents that are talking to them. And it's all about taking really little steps. Kids will quite often tell you what they're happy doing, and as an adult, and I've done it with mine, because you get really frustrated that you've tacked that pony up and they've sat on it for 3 minutes and got off. It's really easy to force them almost into doing something else. Just one more walk around, just sit, just quickly do a trot. Do a trot and you can get off the pony. But actually we don't realise the harm that we're doing. The child might do it and the child might look fine doing it, and some kids actually need that push. But a lot of them don't, and a lot of them then come off that, and it's been a really negative experience. So it's all about taking really little steps and making everything very positive and going at their pace. Some kids move a lot quicker than others. Some, they will sit on that pony for a minute and then have to get off, and they will do that for a week. And so we also work with the parents who are going to be having, the ones who are stuck with the frustration from their nice, happy child who's getting to take this at their pace, but quite often the parents don't feel that way. So I do a lot of work with the parents as well on their mindset and the background to trauma and why we're doing this and why it's so important and the end goals, so that they don't undo all the hard work of the children as well.
That's really cool. I love that. And so I mean, obviously I work a lot with pushing the comfort zone and finding the edges of the learning zone and making sure they don't go out to panic. And if they do, they dip to toe and come back and, knowing all of that. How on earth do you work that out with a child? Because at least I can talk through that concept with an adult. They can understand it as a concept. We can work on it. We can make it relevant to them. How on earth do you find out if actually you're pushing that child? And I suppose this is a children question generally, isn't it, really? How do you know if you're pushing that child with your goal in mind, or whether actually they are happily doing whatever it is that you're asking them to do?
Quite often, because kids are so honest, that really helps. Because you can usually gauge by their reaction if they're having a jokey, I don't really like this, or if they're genuinely worried, if they're genuinely fearful. And a lot of the stuff we do through watching videos or stories or on the ground first, because you can gauge by their own reactions actually at what point they're starting to feel uncomfortable even talking about things, which gives you a really good indicator for their riding. They also get like a little journal to fill in, so they'll fill in if they're riding and I'm not there, or even sometimes we get children who actually need help on the ground. It's not ridden stuff, it's on the ground stuff. We'll ask them to fill in, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did this feel, what were your favourite bits, which bits made you feel scared, which bits made you feel sad, how did that feel in your body? We do a lot of that sort of stuff. Because sometimes actually, when they're saying they're really scared, they're not, they're just a little bit nervous and it's working past those nerves, or actually it's not, it's excitement and they're quite enjoying doing stuff, but because of how they're conditioned almost, they're thinking that it's nerves and they're thinking that they're scared, and it's just looking at different mindset tweaks. So it's a very similar process, just in a slightly different way.
I love that. I think I'm going to have to bring some of your kiddie stuff into mine to make it even more fun as well, because everyone thinks mindset's this serious thing, and I mean, yeah, okay, there's a serious element to it, but actually, I try and make my sessions a bit of fun, and we have a bit of a laugh and a joke about stuff, and we lift it so it's not like deadly serious and what have you, because actually that in doing that it helps people to process, doesn't it? And I love that with the kids that you do that kind of stuff as well. And and it's very similar, isn't it? The kind of things that you do, but you've just got this honest little child. And do you know what I love? I love the fact that you are teaching them that it's okay to have feelings at that age. Like you're allowed to have all the different feelings that you're going to have, and that's all right. Because as adults, most people get to me at the point where they've kept them in a bottle for so long, tried to shove them in a box that the lid's popping off because it's so full of stuff they haven't dealt with. Because like you say, we're conditioned. We're not allowed to be angry. We're not allowed to be sad. We're not allowed to be upset. We're not allowed to be nervous. We're not allowed to be fearful. We're not allowed to be anxious. And all of those things actually get worse when you don't allow them than when you just go, feeling a bit nervous right now, actually. That'll pass. That's okay. It's not a problem, isn't it? So what do you find then in allowing kids to process that stuff makes the difference for them?
Just the fact that they recognise it, because quite often, whether it's a younger child or an older child, we have like these handful of emotions and everything seems to slot into that emotion. And that's not the case. Actually, when you look at the huge range of emotions that we do have as humans, the range that they know and the range that they will automatically go to isn't what it actually is half the time. It's like there are so many kids at the minute in lockdown going, I'm hungry. You're not hungry, you're bored. You just don't realise that you're bored. The number of times I've said that.
I think I might be doing that one, actually, to be honest with you. It's my little inner child. They're going, I need chocolate. No, you don't. You just need something in your hand right now. That's what it actually is. Go and eat something. Go and get a carrot.
But it's really useful to be able to teach kids that actually there's other emotions and they're okay and they will pass. And it's more about the toolkit to use for those as well. Because actually, putting riding aside and horses aside, they're going to feel those emotions so many times throughout their teenage years and adulthood. And actually, if they've got the ability and the skill to recognise those emotions and the tools to deal with them and know that actually, even if they're having a bad day or a bad week, it'll pass and they can work through that, I think that's really important, whether it's with horses or not with horses.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I love the fact that if we can build our kids to be resilient and understanding of emotion, and that's all it is, it's a feeling, it comes and goes, then we're going to end up with a lot less of, I think, what we're seeing in a lot of teenagers and young adults now, which is this anxiety thing, where, they say, I've got depression, I've got anxiety, my anxiety, my depression, then they label themselves. And it's almost become, dare I say it, in my opinion, fashionable is maybe a bit of a strong word, but it's almost a bit like, because it's talked about so much on mental health and this, that and the other, it's, you know, I know of a few teenagers at the moment that say, oh yeah, you know, my anxiety, and I'm like, you haven't got anxiety, you just feel anxious, you're a teenager. But you're going to feel anxious. There's a lot of changes going on. There's a lot of things going on for you that you don't understand and can't process. But because you haven't been taught to just go, oh, I'm feeling a bit anxious right now, that's not ideal, is it? I don't really like it very much, but that's okay. It's because of these things, perhaps. It will pass. It gets labelled and boxed up into this thing that you then own.
Yeah. And I think it's easier that way, isn't it, for some people? You know, they've got that label. You know, going back to sort of my eldest again, he does genuinely suffer with anxiety. But the number of kids that he's at college with and went to high school with that have anxiety, have depression, have mental health problems, and some of them genuinely do, but some of them actually have just been given a label because it's easier giving them a label than being able to help them to learn the tools, to work through it, and give them the time that they need to work through it. It's easier just to put a label on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm not saying it's not a thing. Of course, it's a thing. It's just, I think it's become a thing for more people than it really is.
Definitely.
Cool. So, wow, we've covered a lot of different things, haven't we? We went from beautiful homeware to people with anxiety. It's just amazing, isn't it, what you can cover? Is there anything that you particularly wanted to tell people about, talk to people about, or cover off that's maybe your passion, or, you know, because I know we said something about we're going to talk about trusting in others, and we haven't really covered that, like, because when we were talking about the kind of things we could discuss, that was something that you said. So maybe that's something that you can tell us a bit about as to why you thought, oh, that would be an interesting thing to talk about.
It was just around sort of the mental health and also the well-being things that we keep touching on, and all the mindset stuff, was just to make sure you've got a tribe around you who are people you can rely on, because quite often, you know, we can end up in this little insular bubble where we see the same people all the time because it's sort of day in, day out, a lot of the same stuff. You know, we're at home with our kids and our partner and all that sort of thing, and it's just really important to have those people there that you can go and have a whinge at, who will let you get it off your chest, and who will put that back to you in a much more structured way so you can work through things. So I know quite often if I go and tell my hubby about any issues, he's great, but the way he phrases it back to me just grates on me and it doesn't work. And it ends up with me then in a worse mood. But actually I've got some friends then who are brilliant, and I can go and sort of just spout off loads of random stuff at them. And if they hear this, they will know exactly which ones they are. And they will frame it back to me in a way that makes sense. And it really helps me get my mindset around stuff. So they will come back and go, right, so you said this, but what about this? And had you thought about it in this way? And it's really important to have people around you that you can trust, that you can build those relationships with, that you can just sound off on. And also just to have that community around you. So when you do have a bad day, when you do have a bad week, if you're building a business, there'll be lots of them. Just to have that community there that you know you can go to and you can chat with and just help if you've got someone there to talk to. Because I think quite often we're told it's bad to talk and you shouldn't share all the stuff that's going on and you shouldn't ask for people's help. And it's so important that you do, even over the silly little things, especially the silly little things, because they're the things that really build. And I think quite often so many people are told to just doesn't matter. It's, you know, one of those little trivial things, and there's much more important stuff in life, but actually if it's important to you, it's important.
And that's actually really key right now as well, isn't it? That because we physically can't see people, having your people around you, that because you're most influenced by the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
And you know, if you can influence who those 5 people are, at the moment you're probably being forced to spend time with 5 people that, you know, but if you can go and find the 5 others that you can, you know, get to know, and you know, from a community perspective, it can be quite easy sometimes as an entrepreneur to be a bit of an island and to kind of be a bit on your own, and you're trying to juggle all these busy things, and to have a group of people around you that go, actually, yeah, I felt that before, here's some useful stuff, or that's totally normal, don't worry, it'll pass, or no, you're not mad, actually, it just is the way it is. It's just so helpful for you to go, oh yeah, I think I'll stop beating myself up about that now then, and just accept it's part of the course, or it'll pass, or actually get some help and advice on what to do about it from fresh eyes that aren't involved in your life.
Exactly. I think so much with social media, everything looks perfect. And if you've got a business, you've got, to an extent, an image to portray. You know, I am quite open and honest in my Instagram stories. I spend a lot more time on Instagram for both my businesses than I do on Facebook. And I am quite open and honest in my Instagram stories. Anyone who saw my one on the Rider Confidence page today will have seen me being mauled by my very badly mannered ponies because they thought my daughter was there and she's taken to feeding them every day during lockdown and me getting nipped. But I am quite honest with the fact that actually some days I will come on and I will look like a scrub. I've done quite well today. I have hair and makeup done. I am quite honest with it, but it's very hard to go online and see, you see all the perfect happy families and they all look immaculate and the homes are gorgeous and tidy, and mine looks like a bomb's dropped 99% of the time. But you don't see the real life, and I think quite often we get quite sucked into that whole beautiful Instagram feed, nice Pinterest homes, and you almost feel inferior. You feel like you're not doing a good enough job. The dog barking constantly, and everyone else just seems to sit there for those gorgeous pictures that we keep seeing. Mine totally invaded alive. The other week I was sat in the garden thinking it would be really quiet. It was one place I had no kids. And the dog ran out and went absolutely berserk, a cat down the road. It never does that. But actually, you know what? I got a couple of comments afterwards saying they liked it because it was real life. And I think sometimes just remember that the stuff you see on social media is not real, because it could make you feel really bad.
No, definitely. And one of the phrases that I love from that is just remember you're always comparing someone's show reel to your behind the scenes. Always, And the thing I always say is if you find yourself comparing, the way to flip it is to say, what do I find inspiring about them? And obviously if you're comparing and you find yourself a bit jealous, it's because they've got something you want. And so if it's something you want you don't have, you've got to think, well, what is it they've got that I want, and how can I find a way of getting it? What can I find out from them that will inspire me to be like them, as opposed to thinking I'm not good enough because I'm not like them. So yeah, no, I love that. Cool. Okay, so yeah, your tribe around you is so important, isn't it? And the people you surround yourself with, and being able to be real, and if you've ever watched any of my Q&As, I've gone from everything from full makeup because I fancied it that day, to a baseball cap because my hair was so disgusting you could cook chips in it. Just is what it is, really. And I think when people realise that we're all human, that that even the Queen poops, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so thank you so much. We've covered so many really fascinating things. If people want to get hold of you about the Children's Confidence, what's the best way of them contacting you? Because there'll probably be some people that go, oh, wow.
Get over to my Instagram page. I am on Facebook as well, but I do spend more time on Instagram. So it's Nurtured by Nags.
Nurtured by Nags.
Nurtured by Nags. And there's a new Children's Confidence membership launching. Fingers crossed BHS's second announcement comes out good on Wednesday, because we're working with so many instructors. And so I've got to wait for them to go back. So fingers crossed Wednesday on Instagram I'll be able to make an announcement when that'll be going live.
Cool. So if you've got a kid and you feel like they need a bit of confidence help, people come and ask me and I go, children. But it's great because now I can refer them to you, which is fabulous. And Red Bear, how do they have it?
Back over on Instagram, but we are on Facebook as well, and it's Red Bear Equestrian. Fingers crossed, all being well with manufacturers. We should be launching towards the end of this month.
So that's very exciting. So just quickly before we go then, what's your absolute favourite product on Red Bear at the moment that you would say your favourite?
We have the most amazing hoodie coming out. I am really excited. Two things actually. One of them is the hoodie, because I bought a particular hoodie about 6 years ago at a horse show, wore it to death, and I've never been able to find one. And then I saw a company doing them, but I'd already planned to do them, so I couldn't buy from them. I've had to stay loyal to my own, so I'm so excited to get hold of it, because it's really warm, it's super cozy. I would be quite happy doing floral in it, but I will definitely ride in it. So yeah, I am very excited for that, and I can get it on under my coat without feeling like a literal man. And the other thing is a base layer. So we're going to be doing a really, really cool base layer. I'm really excited for that. I have only discovered base layers since getting onto Instagram. My riding fashion was not what it was until I hit Instagram. And they're amazing. They're so comfortable to ride in. So I have a whole range now. But I have got the most beautiful base layer, which I've just signed off this morning. So it is in manufacturing production as we speak. So those are my two clothing ones. There is a very cool necklace riding that I'm loving as well. And I've got one downstairs in the office, and I can't wear it because I can't let anyone see it yet. And homeware, I have just agreed a really cool cushion design. And I'm not usually one for cushions, but I love this one, and I think I'll get away with it in the house, even though it's equestrian. It's like a subtle equestrian, maybe.
We like a bit of subtle equestrian. I like that. I like that. A lot of the stuff that I buy to do my speaker stuff and presenting on, if I'm not doing horsey speaker, I'm doing more motivational stuff like that, there'll be a little subtle equestrian in there somewhere, like a snaffle on a shirt or something, you know, like a horseshoe on a necklace or something. So there's always, and the pearls, there's always a little subtle equestrian there that I know, or the boots, you know, Mum Fairfax and Favors and things like that. So if you're horsey, you'll go, I know what that is. But if you're not, it's totally normal. So yeah, love it. Wow, I can't wait for some of that stuff to come out then. That sounds amazing. So we'll know it's come live because no doubt you'll be plastering it over Instagram, and we'll know that it's ready to go.
Definitely, and there is going to be some pre-order offers, discounts, freebies coming up, running up the week before we launch as well. But you need to be on Instagram because those will only be on Instagram. We've had a few polls running as to what people want, so there's going to be a couple of different ones.
Oh, that's so exciting. Well, if you ever had a reason to go on Instagram, that's got to be it now. Well, thank you so much, Hayley. It's been absolutely brilliant chatting to you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your tips and your inspiration to others, and hopefully anyone who's thinking of starting a business out there and doing what they love, because, you know, yet another person that's proof that just do it. Like, honestly, what you're doing in the daily grind, get out of that and do what you love instead. You might as well put your energy into something that you actually enjoy, really, hadn't you?
To get you out of bed on a morning.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I can just imagine you jumping out of bed early in the morning to go and look at this necklace or this cushion cover. It sounds amazing. So thank you so much, Hayley. We're going to finish up now. But if you want to get in touch with Hayley, then you can on Instagram and on Facebook. Go check her out. And we'll speak soon. Bye.